In this video, we're going to be studying um, sex-linked traits. Okay, now these are going to be contrasted to autosomal dominant and autosomal recessive disorders and those types of traits. Okay, so let's just take a look at what this is talking about. You can see here on this screen that we have an X and a Y chromosome. If you guys remember, we call these the sex chromosomes. Okay, they do determine gender, but they do more than just determine gender. Okay, and this got clipped a little bit. This is trying to show you, here's the X chromosome, and here's the Y chromosome. These do more than determine gender. You guys know to have a male, you'd have an X and a Y. Female would be two X chromosomes. But we're going to take a look at genes on these chromosomes that run in families, and if there's a disorder of these alleles, and we're going to focus on the X. Okay, we're not really going to look at anything on the Y. We're going to see genes on this X chromosome that if they're defective and they run in families, that they can produce some disorders. That's why they're going to be called sex-linked disorders, or if, it's not a defect, it'd be a sex-linked trait. All right, so a sex-linked gene. Now write this down because here's your definition. It's any gene that is contained on either the X or the Y chromosome. Remember, we call those the sex chromosomes. And, you could probably leave off this last part here. But that's what a sex-linked gene is. The Y chromosome is much smaller than the X and contains less genes. Remember, all a chromosome is genes all linked together. Okay, so a shorter chromosome has less genes. And all the disorders we're going to study and that you're going to do practice problems with, they are going to be X-linked recessive. Okay, so what that means is we're only going to study disorders of genes that are on that X chromosome, and they're always going to be recessive. And you're going to see that as I do a few example problems in this video, exactly how we're going to show those. Okay, so feel free to push the pause button here and jot down anything that I may have gone too fast for. You really do need everything on the slide in your notes. Okay, color blindness. Now there's different forms of color blindness, but red-green color blindness is one of the sex-linked disorders. Okay, it's an X-linked recessive, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Red-green color blindness affects about 10% of all men and 1% of all females. Take a look at this bubble test. I don't know if you all remember, maybe when you were in elementary school, you're a really young kid, you may have looked at different bubble tests like this. Maybe it's a school nurse or the eye doctor or something like that. And they ask you, could you see like an animal in there or a number or something like that? Myself, I can't see a number in this. To me, this looks like a paintball target. Okay, I could tell you like, here's here's pink, and here's like an olive green, and here's kind of like a brownish, almost black, and I could tell you what every little dot looks like, but when I pull my head back from the screen, I can't see a number in here. Okay, I imagine there's probably a few people that are watching this video, you can't see a number in there either. Okay, and the reason for that is, someone who has red-green color blindness, you can't see this. Okay, so guys, it'd be 10% of all men and 1% of all females. And just in teaching biology for so many years, these numbers ring true. If I have 100 students that I'm teaching this to, it's usually not quite 10. It's usually a little bit less than that. And there might be one girl a year who kind of can't see these things. So, my numbers might be a little less than this just in what I've seen over the years, but these are some of the figures of red-green color blindness. Okay, now take a look at this image. Again, this looks like a Christmas or a holiday picture to me. It's all red and green. Okay, but I asked my wife before I made this video, and she said what's actually in here is it's sort of like a backwards kind of C, or a circle with a chunk missing out of it. I can't see that. Okay, I'm slightly red-green colorblind. Now, I could tell that like this dot is green and this dot is darker green, and then, here's a light red one, and then there's a dark red little tiny one. Like I can see red and green, but the subtle shades of them, I really can't discriminate them to make like an image out of this bubble test. And I've known that since I've been a kid. Okay, now there's other forms of color blindness too. There's more than just red and green, but I don't know. I was just kind of having some fun with this. And here's a bunch of other tests. If you want to pause the video, maybe see which ones you can see. Here I'm going to pop the answer key up in a minute. So if you don't want to see the answer key, hit pause right now. But here's the answer key. Um, some of this might depend on, the resolution of your screen and how you have your settings and all that too. But, not all of these are red-green colorblind tests, okay? And I'm pretty good, but like this one I could see pretty well. I could see the 9 in there. I could even like trace it out there for you. Even this, I could tell there's a 5 here. I could kind of see the 8 going on in here. This looks like an emerald 9. This one's tough. I have a hard time with that one. Even though it's a lot like this one, I struggle with that one. Um, these two are hard. I remember as a kid, I had a hard time telling the blue crayon from the purple crayon. I could tell them apart now, but those two can still give me some problems. And guys, this one, that looks like a kaleidoscope to me, if you remember what a kaleidoscope is. Yeah, so I have problems with subtle shades of colors. It's probably why, I'm a bio teacher, maybe not an art teacher. I can't see all those subtle shades that might make a picture beautiful or something like that. Um, but let's learn a little bit more about this, about the genetics, about the alleles behind this. Okay, so here's an obvious question. Why is it 10% of all men and 1% of all women? Well, there's a reason for it. So guys, you got to write down this one, okay? The 3 human genes that are associated with color vision in humans are located on the X chromosome. Okay, so that's just a fact. That's not really answering this question for us yet, though. Okay, here's another fact that you guys know. If you don't know this, write it down. I think you all know this, though. Men have only 1 X chromosome, where women have 2. Okay, so what is that telling us? In order for women to be red-green colorblind, they must receive 2 alleles for colorblindness, one on each chromosome. Men only have to have one of those alleles. So here's what I mean by that. I'll write it up here in this white space. Um, Here are the sex chromosomes of a male. The Y has nothing to do with seeing red-green and this red-green colorblindness. The X does, though. Okay? So, if the man receives an X chromosome that has defective alleles for red-green vision, then he's going to be colorblind. Okay, but let's look at a female here. Remember, we said all of these are X-linked recessive. So they're on the X, so X-linked, and they're all recessive. Okay, so what that means is, say that this man it was colorblind, we'd say, X, maybe like little c for color. I'll underline my little c there. So he's colorblind. He got bad alleles for color vision. But for a woman to be X little c, think about what that means for a minute. That means that from her mom had to give her an X little c. And then from her dad had to be, X little c Y. So that means colorblindness had to run on both sides of the family, and the sperm cell had to have that X little c, and then the egg cell did too. That's pretty unlikely that would run on both sides of the family. Okay? Um, and we'll take a look at this in just a minute. Okay, let's jump to a Punnett square. I'm going to come back to this one here for you. Okay, let's figure out how we're gonna draw these. A man with normal color vision marries a woman who is a carrier for color blindness. What are the possible genotypes and phenotypes of their children? Okay, we're just gonna use X's and Y's on this. So we know to have the man, I'll write these up here. We have the man. We know he has to have an X and a Y because we're talking sex chromosomes. Okay, he has normal color vision. Okay, so here's our options for the X. You can have an X, a big C. You have an X, little c. X big C is going to be normal vision because remember, these are recessive conditions. And this is going to be for color blindness. Okay, so he has normal color vision. Give him a big C. We don't put anything on the Y. Okay, for the Y, you're just going to have a Y, and that's just going to designate the male. Okay, the woman is a carrier for color blindness. All right, so let me put this here for the cross. Remember what a carrier means. She's not colorblind, so she has 2 X's. She's not colorblind, so give her a big C. But she's a carrier. That means she's carrying around that little c. Okay? Herself, her phenotype is normal color vision. She can see all those bubble tests just fine. But she's carrying around that she could possibly give it to a child. So it says, okay, well then tell us about their kids. All right, guys, throw us a new Punnett square. X big C Y. X big C. X little c. It kind of looks like we're doing one of those codominance ones where you have the the 2 superscripts, okay? So it's gonna look a lot like that. Okay, guys, and jot this down so you have a solid example because you're going to do some practice problems with these in the next day or so as well. Okay, so here's what we're looking at here. Now, what does this mean? Well, this box right here is a female who's totally normal. So if we write out our genotypes, we see that happening 1 out of 4. And then we see a carrier female. That would be her. 1 out of 4 chance of that. We see X big CY. 1 out of 4 chance of that. And we see X little cy. There we go. Oh, what is this doing to me? Then that's a 1 out of 4 chance as well. Okay, so those are your genotypes. So what would be the phenotype of this one? This would be a normal vision female. Okay, this one we would call a carrier female. Okay, she is normal vision, but she's carrying around that one bad allele. This would be a normal male. Okay, remember, males can't be carriers. If they have the little c, then they're this. Okay, if they have the X little c, then they're colorblind. A little delay here on the pen. All right, there we go. So guys, that's how you do this one. Remember, these are your genotypes. And these over here, these are your phenotypes. All right, so guys, that's how you would work out one of these problems. Now, there's other examples of these sex-linked disorders. Let me give you another example besides colorblindness, okay? Hemophilia, okay? So, I don't know if you need to write this one. Hemophilia is another one of these sex-linked disorders. It's recessive, and it's on the X, just like the colorblindness. This is a disorder where the blood cannot clot, okay? Basically, you guys know a blood clot is sort of like a little dam that gets made to stop you from bleeding, okay? Individuals with hemophilia, they have some defective alleles on that X chromosome, and they can't make the right proteins to make that dam to stop, or all the platelets can get stuck in it and to stop that blood flow. Okay, so guys, you do need to know this one. And I would write this one too. They're on the X chromosome. And again, women have 2 alleles for all those genes because they have 2 X chromosomes, and men only have 1. Okay? So I would jot down the 2 that I put check marks next to. These 2 are true of any of these sex links. All right, let's do an example of a hemophilia one. Okay, man who has hemophilia. Okay, so here he is. He's got an X. Is this thing gonna write? He's got an X and a Y. And we're going to put a little h on him. Because remember, it's recessive. That lowercase means they have the disorder. And the woman is the carrier. X big H, X little h. She is normal because of this. This is a recessive condition. But this little h makes her the carrier. This little h makes him have hemophilia. Okay? So let's kind of look at the Punnett square here. I think you guys can kind of figure this out in your heads pretty well. There we go. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Here, I'll write them out like I did in the last one. So here we have, okay, what is that, guys? That's a female, right? Yeah, 2 X chromosomes. Now, what is she? Is she normal, a carrier, or is she hemophilia? She is a carrier because she's heterozygous. She's got 1 of each. She has normal clotting blood. Okay? Let's look at another one here. What about this girl? She has hemophilia. Okay? She has the blood clotting disorder. We'll need some treatment for that. This is a normal male. They got normal blood clotting alleles from, the one parent that gave the X. And then this would be a male who has hemophilia. This would be a female. Okay, so guys, that's how you do those Punnett square problems. Okay, we'll practice these a lot, and you'll get really good at these.